Day 2 of our series, The Big Picture. Yesterday, we laid out the plan. Myself, along with Kristen Ojanimi, Cindy Baker, and Teal Rintola, planned to hike 42.4 miles of the Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. We were determined to see firsthand the impacts of tourism growth to the area. Immediately, one day in, we realized this was going to be a tough project. The trail, the weather, and the way our bodies were responding, we were already tired. We pick up on day 2. We had went to bed cold and damp, and we were hoping we'd wake up to sun and the promise of a better day. After a cold first day, the forecast promised a much better second day. In the 60s, they said. We woke up today and found this. I don't know what the temperature is. We're thinking maybe lower 40s. It's kind of a disappointment, but it's what you get when you live in the UP and you decide to hike along Lake Superior. Everything in our packs was wet. I didn't pack enough warm clothes and I was chilled to the bone. But our spirits had lifted some. With a little rest, we all felt ready to tackle the day. We had 9.3 miles to hike from Hurricane River to Trappers Lake, more than yesterday. We didn't talk much about that fact. I think we all just knew it was going to be a challenge. We had breakfast, packed up our gear, and took off.
The only way out is through. Just had to do it. I mean, you don't really have a choice. You have to do it. I mean, you're not going to just sit there and wait for someone to come help you because there is no help. You just got to do it.
The trail was wet, slippery in spots. That wind off the lake was fierce, and the views promised on this day were hidden in the fog. After a couple of hours, we stopped for a snack at 12 Mile Beach, a quick energy boost. What we got instead was our first big problem.
I grabbed the Jetboil, I lit it, and I was so anxious to get my food, and I realized that I didn't put water in it. So I quickly tried to disconnect the top of it, and what I did was I disconnected the gas from the lighter, and the flames just got crazy.
This had never happened before. We all watched the flames, not really knowing what to do, eventually throwing sand to put out the fire. We knew this would make things a bit more challenging.
I think anything can happen. You pack your things in your pack that you're certain that you're going to need, and I don't think that I really thought about what would happen if I didn't have a Jetboil.
The good news, everyone was okay, and we all packed a Jetboil. The bad news, we likely didn't have enough fuel for all of us at this point, but we remained optimistic. We'd share and hope for the best. We had quite a bit of trail left, and so we kept moving, but we stopped a lot. We stretched. We tried to give our bodies moments to reset. But every time we stopped, we had to start again. And it felt like having to restart a machine that hadn't started in months. It was tough, and this hike took us all day long. It was exhausting. The last 0.2 miles felt like 5. Our reward was a beautiful campsite and finally the sun.
My feet were hurting, other people's body parts were hurting. Everybody was kind of beat down. It was tough. It was a tough hike.
It was here we began to assess our bodies. We had blisters and twisted ankles, swollen and sore knees, and more blisters.
I wish I would have bought those hiking boots I was thinking about before I came out too, because my toe is about to fall off.
We cleaned up, we tended to our injuries, and we did the only thing we could do. We shook it off. Already, after 2 days, starting to feel the power of pushing through.
It's so many different things that when you add it all up, it's just this really gorgeous experience that you can't even put into words. There are some of the most miserable times with bugs, miserable times with your body, and the things that you want it to do and it doesn't really want to do at that time. And there's so many different feelings and emotions, and it doesn't even matter how it goes while you're there. When you look back on it, it's just beautiful. It's just a great time spent with great people in a really, really beautiful place.
Tomorrow in part 3, that push to keep going, how we found it, where you pull from when you're absolutely spent, and our group splits up. Find out why and how we coped. Plus, we start to see firsthand the impacts on the trails from over 1 million visitors a year to the Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. We'll show you what's happening tomorrow.